Hello, my friends. It's Andy at the Andy Falco Show, coming to you live from Southern California. Don't feel sorry for me because I live in California. Things will change. We're going to turn this place red. I am confident we are going to do it, especially when I have guests like I have on today. Deanna's going to help me turn the state back to red. It has to happen. There was a moment where I thought I was going to leave, and I'm thinking, I've had it. I'm not going to. But I've grown up here. I've lived here all my life. I'm one of the few people that actually live here. I didn't move here and begin ruining the state. I actually live here and want to make the state better. So, and I need to get to the sponsors really quick because I want to get to Deanna and hear her story. It's going to be fantastic. So make sure, and right now, while I'm doing this, number one, write down my sponsors. That's what you need to do first. But the other thing is you need to share this out to your friends and family and any groups that you have that may support us in our movement to not only make America great, but make California great again. So the first sponsor is today'shappycoffee.com. This has been fantastic. I gave it coffee for a little while, and I came back to coffee. But Happy Coffee, this today's Happy Coffee, which is my brand, has not only coffee but lemonade and peach and tea and chai tea and some other stuff, and it is fantastic. It not only makes you happy because it helps you with your dopamines and endorphins and that kind of stuff, but it also has a appetite suppressor, which I do intermittent fasting. And if you have not seen my before and after pictures, it wasn't like I was gigantic. But I am embarrassed to show you my befores. But I have lost a lot of weight over the last couple of months, and I don't know how I got there. I don't know. I don't know. It was COVID weight. I don't know what it was. But today's happycoffee.com has helped me with that. I just met somebody, the UPS driver, and she says, "Hey, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, here," and I gave her some. So. So she's trying it right now. CBD oil. CBD oil has changed my life. As you know, I was a police officer 21 years. Went through some anxiety, depression, a couple huge car accidents. I've been in a couple shootings. I've had, people die while I'm talking to them. And as that all adds up, I went through a little period of time with some anxiety that I couldn't quite figure out. But I'm telling you, I can't tell you that this cured my anxiety, but I can tell you coincidentally, at the same time I started taking CBD oil, I virtually am I have no anxiety, no depression. I have never felt better in my life. And so if you want the best product on the planet, which is by Vaseo, one of the top 50 healthcare companies in the world, go to today'scbdoil.com. Vaseo is a fantastic company. They also have other wellness products that you can find at today'svaseo.com. All right. So really quick, I want to tell you that over the past couple of days, I've been really identifying other Americans. Now, I want to make sure, because you may see me for the first time, but what I do now is, because it's real and this is how it is that you have Americans and then you have the Democratic Party and everybody else. All right. So I've been trying to find Americans. And because it really is, I mean, you got BLM, you got Antifa, you got a radical left, and then you have Democrats. And the Democrats who used to say they were not those people have now become those people, because they say nothing bad about them. They don't say they're doing anything wrong. They pretend that Antifa is not destroying Seattle or Portland. They say that it's a hoax or it doesn't exist. It's a myth. And so basically, and I used to separate the politicians from the voters. If you're a voter and still supporting your Democratic leaders, again, you are not an American. And so I've been searching for Americans. So that was a long explanation to get to where I'm at now. So yesterday I identified, who did I identify yesterday? That was Kayleigh McEnany. She is an American. Oh my gosh. Have you seen her destroy the liberal media? She is fantastic. She's one of my favorites. I cannot wait. And they have her in the superhero costume. I know that she's a superhero and she's fantastic. Yesterday I found a new one, and that is a 22-year-old by the name of Jordan, who came out and spoke against this thought that George Floyd is a saint, and Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, they're actually now separated. It has nothing to do with either one of them. But there's a number of people that are saying, this George Floyd is a saint, and she came out and said he was resisting arrest. He's a criminal. And she's a woman of color, 22 years of age. Very brave of her to come out and to begin talking and speaking out and being an American. And it's just so awesome. And today I have another American. You saw her book cover. She's the #1 best-selling author of Taking Back America. And I've read not all of her book, but most of her book. It's fantastic. You need to read it. Of course, there's haters that you're going to find that probably will say something bad about it. But I'm telling you, it is a very good book about America. and about what is happening in America that's virtually have a part of the population who's simply trying to destroy it and go against our Constitution. So I'm going to introduce Deanna right now. Hey, Deanna Lorraine. Oops, I didn't take down the graphic. You got hit in the face by your own book.
Yeah, that's okay. I know I'm not very attractive, so you gotta hide my.
Yeah, no, you're not at all. Yeah, we can put you in like a silhouette or whatever they call that. They look
I get it.
Witness protection program. I love the American flag that you have back there. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So sorry, my opening was so long, but I'm just so happy. I was so happy to read your book that there's many things in there that I'm totally in line with, and I thought maybe I was the only one at some time. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into a little bit about your story in your book.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in a nutshell, my name is Deanna Lorraine, and I'm a very true, solid patriot. And I just completed my run against Nancy Pelosi. I just was crazy enough to challenge her and run for Congress against her in California's 12th congressional district of crazy San Francisco. And I just completed my primary a couple months ago. I unfortunately lost to a very radical socialist. And we can get into that later. But unfortunately, so now it's just between Nancy Pelosi and this extremely radical cop-hating socialists that are going up into the November election. So pick your poison there. And then I decided to, stay on the front lines of the fight and not skip a beat, because this is all about, I may have lost that one battle against Nancy, but I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the war. So while we were quarantined and locked down in California, and California has it one of the worst here with their draconian measures, after a month or so, I got approached actually by a book publishing company, and they asked me if I wanted to write a book, and they encouraged me to share my story and share my thoughts. So I gave it some thought, but after so many days in lockdown, I'm not really the twiddling my thumbs sitting around type of girl. So I decided to write my book, and I wrote it all during the coronavirus lockdown, and just published it a couple weeks ago. Really excited about it. So right now, I'm really focusing on my book and speaking and, sharing messages of positive encouragement and empowerment to try to get people the tools and the resources and the strategies they need to join the fight with me and take back America. I have been speaking up and down California as much as I can and going to rallies and protests, recall Gavin Newsom protests and all sorts of things over the last couple months, and just trying to do what we can. I mean, obviously the circumstances are such that we can't do a whole lot right now as far as work goes and everything, but I'm really just trying to be on the front lines of the fight as much as possible and fight with every last breath to make sure we take back California and make sure we take back America, because time is ticking, and this is the most important election in the history of America. I mean, hands down, it is the most important election, and every moment matters.
Absolutely. And I've been trying to go on live at this part. I've done a lot of shows, but this show that I do now it really developed after the George Floyd incident and just grew. So cool. And once I started speaking up, I got, my friends. I don't know what else to call them. You have your friends that you find out they're not so much your friends, because now they're calling you asshole and they calling you mother effer, and I'm going, wow, what's happening right here? So I'm going to do something first that I didn't intend to, but when you were talking, it made me think about it, is that you start to learn about people that you thought had some intelligence and were Americans. And you see them, you go, do you not see Joe Biden when he talks to you? Do you not see the homeless population has doubled and tripled in San Francisco and Los Angeles with their stupid policies that they're throwing money at something which actually creates more problems, doesn't fix the problem? You find yourself wondering, are they acting stupid on purpose, or are they stupid? I don't know what to do, because I had some friends that I thought were fairly intelligent. What's going on?
It's scary actually at this point, because I keep thinking someday these people are going to realize, they're going to have some sense knocked into them. They're going to see something, the numbers don't add up, or this doesn't add up, or Joe says a completely disrespectful, racist comment again. One of these days, there's going to be a news flash that in their head that says, you know what, maybe I'm not on the right track here. Maybe, conservatives are right. But no, it seems like if anything, they keep doubling and tripling down on their support for Joe Biden and their loyalty to the Democrat Party and the left, the radical left at this point. And it's really scary. At this point, I used to think that they're just brainwashed and they're dumb and, they're a problem because they can't think critically and use common sense. Now at this point, they're no longer just dumb, they're dangerous because they're carrying the water for the Marxist leftist agenda. They're carrying the water for it. They're passionately fighting for them to usher in this agenda. And that makes them dangerous at this point.
Yeah, they got their heels dug in so deep now that they're simply not going to give in and finally say that they're wrong. But I have been encouraged by a few. Like on Fox News, you see a couple Democrats that used to be on there that were saying Donald Trump is a whatever and all the names that they call him, and now suddenly go, you know what, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because they've gone crazy. So there's a couple of people that like something happened and they go, you know what, they've really gone nuts. Especially when you have people, Nadler saying, when he's approached about Portland and Antifa, he says, that's all made up. It's a myth.
Oh my God, it's crazy. And I've lost some. Yeah, I've lost some friends and family over it too. A couple family members of mine, they've been saying that they don't agree with me saying all lives matter, and they're very offended by my social media posts. And I've been disinvited to some family get-togethers now. Some family members and friends just won't talk to me at this point because they think I'm too radical of a conservative now. And I just want to scream at them and say, like, don't you get it? You're not I'm not the radical one. I'm the logical one. You're the radical one that's ushering this, while there's like burning buildings in the background and they're saying that these are just peaceful protesters. Okay. So I just pray that, more people finally see the light and see the truth. But it's important for people like you and I to stand in the truth. Because eventually I think the truth will be on our side. And, I think the reason why your podcast has grown so rapidly, and same with mine, my podcast, my followers have grown a lot since coronavirus occurred. And I think it's because, people are hungry for the truth right now. They're just starving for it because they're not getting it anywhere. That very few places in the media, they're just so, it's just all propaganda at this point. And they're hungry for people who are just bold and courageous enough to speak the truth, unfiltered, regardless of social consequences. And they're there and they're really drawn to it. So that's a positive, encouraging sign.
Yeah, and they have no sense of humor, right? They're like, where's your sense of humor? They had the black square that was on Instagram, and I said, hey, can we do something else other than black square? Because I keep thinking my Instagram is broken. And then somebody said, this is a very serious thing. I go, no, I keep thinking it's a black. What's wrong with my thing? It's a black thing. All right, so let's get back to you. So you decided to run for Congress, and you made the wise choice to run against Nasty Pelosi. I called her Nasty Pelosi.
Yeah, one or the other, or just a little bit of both.
So why would when you could have gone for any other district probably in California, why go after Nancy's district?
Well, good question. And one of the reasons is that the actual district I was living in at the time is Ted Lieu's district. And Ted Lieu is, a pretty abrasive character also. But at the time, Redondo Beach, which is that district, it's actually like kind of pretty. There's not a lot of homeless. There's not a lot of, things that were actually making me very angry. And there was also another Republican running at the time who I really respected. And I just didn't feel quite the motivation there. But Nancy Pelosi, I've had issues with her for years, but especially in the last year, I feel like she is the head of the snake of this agenda that's pushing this constant propaganda, who's constantly blockading every move of President Trump's to enact the America First agenda that over 60 million Americans voted for, and cause all this division in America, all this race baiting constantly, and focusing America on completely the wrong priorities and problems, right? Talking about kids in cages, but not talking about the homeless people that are actually suffering in the streets of her own district, or talking about, giving free healthcare to illegal immigrants, but totally disregarding, the broken family unit and how we need to repair that. or talking about, transgender bathrooms, but again, totally disregarding all the crime in her own backyard. So it was just so constant. And every time I looked at her and experienced her, my blood would just boil. I'm so angry. And the problems in San Francisco and in all of California have just gone into complete disarray under her and Democrats' rule. So for me, it just felt more authentic that I would be challenging someone that I couldn't stand so much that would actually feel like it would make a difference. I would highlight, issues that are real problems in America and in the District of San Francisco that she was not talking about. She needed a counter, a voice of reason and common sense to her voice of insanity and lunacy. And I just know that I was the right woman for the job for that, because I'm pretty fiery. We're both Italian women. We're both pretty feisty, but I'm feistier than she is, and I'm full of common sense. So that's why I chose to run against her. I just really felt like I could make a difference, and I was so fired up about it.
Well, and not only are you feistier, you have your own teeth. Probably it probably helps when you speak.
Yeah, I have my own teeth. I have a little bit more energy and vitality and fresh new ideas. And also, the thing is, yes, it's a tough blue district and it's a tough blue Democrat state. California is, and she's a political Goliath incumbent who's been there since I was a toddler. But the thing is, no one else, by the way, was stepping up to the plate. I kept waiting and thinking, oh, well, surely some big name person is going to go up against her. Surely someone's going to run up against her. And just no one was. No one was. And meanwhile, she was just, continuing to slip our country in decline and making a mockery of our president and our country. So I did just say, you know what, I'm just going to throw myself into the fire and do it. And the thing is, someone's got to do it. And there's a lot of tough blue districts everywhere and tough blue states. And there's a lot of political Goliath incumbents that seem really difficult to beat. But if no one ever throws himself into the fire and no one runs up against these people and challenges them, then all we're sending is a message that we are just waving the white flag of surrender. We're just going to lay over and let this destruction of America occur without any fight. And if we didn't even fight at all, we wouldn't have gotten President Trump into office too. We wouldn't have gotten his great presidency into office if we just thought, well, this is just impossible, because the odds were stacked against him completely. And yet here he is in office, defying all the odds. So it can happen. Never think that that it's not worth it to run for office just because you feel like the odds are stacked against you. And if you don't win, it's at least sending that message that we need to, that we're here to fight. These values are important to us. This country is very important to us, and we're going to fight till the death, even if we don't end up actually winning that particular battle.
It was even a long shot that he wouldn't win anyway. But we, the world, the Americans, didn't really even know how much more of a long shot it was, because behind the scenes, they were doing some pretty terrible things that we're finding out now. The most corrupt administration in U.S. history, the Biden Obama administration, were spying on him, creating a Steele dossier that was paid for by the DNC and Hillary Clinton. All this was happening all at the same time, and they were still going to try to take him down even after he walked down the golden escalator. And it's just like you go, wow. I mean, how much different is it going to be this time? Now, I'm not taking anything for granted. But even the Republicans were against him, right? And he still won. So you had a large number of Republicans that were against him. You had all this stuff going on in the background.
Rhinos, not
rhinos,
real
right?
Republicans. Rhinos, Republicans in name only. Those are not real Republicans.
So you had a large number of rhinos. You had Mittens and all the other idiots that were going against him, right? And you had all these people, and yet he still won. And so right now, I feel the Republican Party, there's a large majority now that are supporting him. So I'm hoping that's going to help things be better. But just before I get more back onto what it is that you were doing, what is it, what do you think we need to do to further this message? Because it gets blocked all the time. We get taken down. I've been throttled. I was having 12 to 15 to 20,000 people watching live, and now it's all the way down to 500. And that's that's part of our world. Do you have any ideas of how we can break through this? We got Facebook, and Facebook's working against us. Twitter's working, the media's working against us. Any ideas on that before I get back onto your story?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have most of the weapons on their side, in this war. They control the media, they control social media, right? They control so much of the message, and they're really controlling the court system as well too. And they have a lot of people that they buy off or they blackmail. So they have so many of the weapons on their sides, and the odds are stacked against us. Trump really needs to do, and really he should have done it in the last 3 years, something serious about the censorship on social media. It's gotten completely out of control. It's undeniable. And he does talk about it and tweet about it a lot, but I have yet to see any serious action taken that's actually made a difference. It's only actually gotten way worse, especially over the last month. They've been doing a lot of conservative purges. So he needed to, and still needs to do, something serious that's going to make a real difference about social media censorship. He also needs to do something serious about the, mail-in voting and election fraud. And I hope that he's done something behind the scenes that we don't know about and has an ace up his sleeve. But, that the Democrats are really banking on cheating to win this election. And, he has to have that taken care of. He just has to, because that's a
conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? It's a conspiracy theory. It's like the most ridiculous thing of conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy, but it isn't a theory. And we need to rise up in levels that we've never seen before. And I talk about this in my book and my podcast a lot, because conservatives we have the strength, we have the muscle, we have more of the guns and the ammunition, and we have the masses. But what we're not really using that masses. We're not really using that strength to the fullest, at least. And unfortunately, I know it's not going to be a popular thing to say, but the left, the Marxist left, they are winning this war right now. They're winning it because look how they're causing so much destruction, tearing down monuments, tearing down our history, rewriting history. They are making serious changes with our school systems, with our logs, mandating masks, all these tyrannical governmental orders that they're issuing right now, and controlling the information war. So they're doing serious damage, and we as patriots, we're not doing enough, I think. Yes, we're holding some rallies, and we're waving American flags and honking horns and stuff, but are we really making a serious, tangible difference that's a match to what the Marxist lefts are doing right now? Because they're making a tangible difference, right? And until we rise up, and this should be an every weekend thing, or even, a daily thing. We have to rise up in hundreds of thousands to storm the Capitol in a united fashion, in an organized fashion. They're very united, they're very organized, and they're very well funded. We need to get the exact same on our side level of organization and funding, and in unison. And we need to do that fast. We need to do that powerfully over the next couple months so that we can at least match them, but more so exceed their power and strength. Right. Otherwise, they will just keep taking advantage of our weakness. Conservatives tend to be more polite. We also tend to have better things to do than to rally, than to cause serious damage. And that's okay. But that is also, it's an asset of ours, but it's also a frailty of conservatives, because they outmatch us in that organization and the unison they have. So we do need to fight back, and we need to take every moment seriously over the next couple months and get seriously organized. We have all these militias, right? We have so many veterans that want to fight for our country and that did fight for our country. Let's use this manpower.
Right. I'm with you.
Ignore us forever. Right.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. And I try to go live almost every day. There's no, I'm never at a loss for a topic.
Yeah. Right.
we got New York having, if you go into New York now, you're going to be stopped. You're going to have to go be tested. You're going to have to be quarantined. They've got Cuomo. Oh my gosh, they're both idiots. And that's Jordan. Jordan is the young lady I was talking about at the very beginning who did a video yesterday. Fantastic. I was so happy to see her come on and say some really thoughtful things and really lay it on the line. There's a 22-year-old right now, woman, and who's, I say of color. I don't know what else to say. It sounds so, I don't know what to say, Jordan.
I just say American, right? Because I don't even look at skin color. I look at the color of our,
I don't even care.
Yeah, are we American or not? The left are the ones who wants to divide us by skin color, race, gender. It's insane. Complete opposite of Martin Luther King's dream, by the way.
Exactly. Yes. It's never been an issue with me before. And I'm usually, pretty easy going. So I got somebody who lives in New York, and I'm sorry, we live in California, so we have something in common. We're living in very horribly run states
Right.
by some communists.
Yeah. Hilarious dictators. Right. I mean,
all right, really quick. And I see we're already at 25 minutes, and you thought 30 minutes was going to be enough. I want to find out. So what happens? What you start running for Congress? You're going against Nancy. Let's get to that story. Let's find out what happens to you.
Yeah, sure. And again, I'm not trying to just like ploy for the book, but the book has like all the good, bad, and the ugly, like the juicy, the nitty gritty details. So if you don't feel like you got enough from this interview, then just go read the book, because I have a no holds bar, lots of the nitty gritty stories in there. But yes, I ran for I decided to run for Congress, and it was really challenging. Probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I never ran for political office before, and I've only started getting into politics in the last couple of years. Since President Trump really started running for president, and like the last 2 years or so of Obama, that's when I really started getting woke and researching all of these things and stuff. So first time running for office, threw myself in the fire, ran against Nancy, and it was very challenging. There were a lot of, I loved, meeting all the people and learning about them, being in San Francisco and seeing all the dirty, unsanitary conditions on many of the streets and suburbs of San Francisco, and interviewing and talking to all of the homeless people and trying to get their stories, how they got there, what they needed to do to get off the streets. It was just a really eye-opening experience, and it was a beautiful experience getting to talk to all the people. And then there was a lot of challenging times too. I mean, I thought I was going to be really targeted and attacked by Nancy Pelosi and the left. I was going into that with that expectation. But what I didn't expect was that I would be attacked by the rhinos on the right. And there were a lot of attacks from the rhinos on the right. There was one other Republican running in the seat against Nancy as well. But, he ticks off all the boxes for a rhino, and, really pretty much was one. And him and the other establishment part of the California GOP, they really wanted him to have the seat, even though he had ran already. This was his fourth time running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi over the last 10 years. So this was just sort of like his gig, run for Congress against Nancy. And he didn't have any strong message. He didn't seem very patriotic, just kind of, old white dude, establishment, status quo guy. And each time he runs, raises a bunch of money, and then just loses. So here I come in, and like a firefighter, and just lights things up and shakes things up. And it was a threat to him, I guess, because he thought he had it in the bag. So he spent all his time and during his campaign with his allies to attack me and smear me and get me to quit, try to pressure me to quit. And it was rough for a lot of times, because he would create, him and his team would create hit piece articles about me that just weren't even true at all, just like the dirty dossier of President Trump. And it was like, I thought we were supposed to be Republicans here. I thought we were supposed to be fighting the same common enemy, the left, and not fighting each other. So I wasn't expecting the rhino establishment people on the right to attack me so much and make my campaign super difficult, but they did. And I learned a lot from that. And that was really a challenging time. And I learned that the swamp is really real. I mean, it is really real. And there's swamp members that say that they're Republican on the right, and there's swamp on the left. And they're really all the same. They don't want any patriots, really, hardcore conservatives who are openly pro-Trump, openly pro-faith, openly pro-borders, who are openly proud of their conservative values. They don't want those people in office, and they will try to protect their establishment choices as much as possible. So there is a glass ceiling. It is very real. And it doesn't mean that we can't, just means that we have to fight all the more. We have to get, good resources and great support and a great ground team. But so that's what I learned a lot during my campaign. And then eventually,
just really quick, I know this is said a lot, but is it? Do you think it really is this thing that they've once they get the hold of this power, that they get power drunk, and that's all they can think about is how they're going to get voted into office, back into office, because they're just stuck there?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is power. It's money. They make a lot of money. They make a lot of backdoor deals. And then, eventually they really become one. The deep state, the swamp, those are interchangeable words, but they really become one. They don't want the people to be truly free. They don't want the founding fathers' vision for America and for we the people. They want to just have power be consolidated to just them. And they want to, basically sell America out to China or to other countries. And they don't care what happens to America. If they really cared what happens to America, they would be fighting the way President Trump has been fighting for power to be with the people instead of bigger power to be with the government. Instead, they're clinching down, they're just tightening the ratchet every day on our freedoms and having a bigger presence of government and more limited individual freedom. Right. So that just tells you right there that they don't have our best interest in mind. They don't have America as it's designed in mind. And eventually,
I want to get back to your story, and I'm so sorry for interrupting you because you can get on a roll. So, but I don't want to leave this point. The one thing that I think that I love most about Donald Trump, and again, he's had a checkered past. Everybody has. And so everybody goes, well, what about when I don't care. Right now, he's fantastic. He's what America needs. And the one thing I like about him or even love about him is that he doesn't make decisions based on whether he's going to be reelected again, or else he wouldn't do some of the things he does. Right. Yeah. He has his own administration that says, don't do that. It's going to cost you, a couple votes if you do this. He goes, but it's the right thing for America. If this is the best, this is what America needs. And they said, well, don't do that because it's going to cost you. And he does it anyway. I think that's the one thing I do love about him is that he is not a politician and makes decisions based on what is good for America.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's a big message that I want to keep drilling home is we don't need to elect any more politicians that looked like they're perfect cookie cutter politicians. We don't want any of those because they're the ones that typically sell America out. They're the establishment. We want people who are not politicians, who are just everyday Americans. And, if they had a little bit of a checkered past, but it's forgivable and they're a good person now. And, they have their heart in the right place and they're the perfect person for the job now. They have a strong message and they don't waver. These are the kinds of people that we need. No more used car salesmen, no more wolves in sheep's clothing. We need real people who are going to relate to Americans and who are going to proudly, fiercely defend America and the Constitution.
The Bible's full of them, and books in the Bible have been written after some of these horrible people.
Yeah.
And really quick, I'm going to bring up, this is kind of the things that I kind of love to do. And I hope that you don't mind if I do this, but you got people on here that, this is guys from Twitter, a Rhinos Republican who doesn't believe in Trump's fascism, non-hypnotized and independent. And then he says his decisions are based on his narcissism.
Bye, troll.
Where's the promised healthcare? Another lie, and that's it, right? That's their whole agenda. They never have any facts, right? I say to people like him, I'm not sure what his name is. It's the something. What is it again? The other twin. Oh, great. Okay, the other twin.
Out there in the world.
Is that truth and American things that benefit America, that are for America and are based on, our great history and moving our country forward is like kryptonite, right? It's their kryptonite and they have no strength. They don't know what to do. You hit them with something that's truth and they go, well, he's an asshole. You're an asshole, right? You never go, well, this is based on fact. This is what I believe. There's no discussion. There's nothing. And I love these people. And they're some of my favorite. You wouldn't believe some of the comments that I get, but they may be a little kinder to you. So let's go a little bit further into what you experienced as you were on this path of becoming a congresswoman.
Yeah. So eventually, my primary was in March. And as you know, this was just more things, more dirty little tactics that California has done over the last couple of years to make it all the more difficult for real conservatives to get into office and especially to beat an incumbent and especially to beat a Democrat incumbent. So one thing they enacted in the last couple of years was the jungle primary. In the jungle primary, there's only 2 other states that have it. And it's that, it's not the top 2 vote getter. It's not the top vote getter of the Democrat Party and then the Independent and the Republican Party that make it into the general election. It's just the top 2 vote getters of all parties. So naturally, the incumbent is going to get it, right? So there's one, that's a shoo-in usually. And then the second one is often going to be a Democrat if it's a largely Democrat district. And then there's no Republican on the ballot after that, right? So a lot of people were expecting that I would win the Republican side of the primary and it would still be me versus a Democrat versus Nancy. But no, it doesn't work that way now in California because stupidly they have this jungle primary now. So that was one disadvantage. Another one is that they moved the primary up this year only from June, when it normally is in California, to March, which shaves off 3 whole months. And, you know, if you're campaigning, that is a long time. That's a time to make up so much momentum and get so much of an impact with your voter base. It's unbelievable. But that's what they did. They shaved that off. And it was right in the time, too, when I was just gaining so much momentum in my campaign. My fundraising was all working great. I was getting out the vote. My ground team was taken off. Everything was working so well. And then there's the primary. But if I had that 3 more months, it could have made such a big difference. So in any event, there was the primary. And who did San Francisco vote in? They made their choice. They voted in none other than a radical communist, Shahid Buttar, Pakistani Muslim. And it's so funny. It's so ironic that he won because his parents were actually, they were part of a domestic terrorist organization called the Weather Underground. And they were in prison when he was a child for murdering cops and blowing up government buildings. Right. So, you know, San Francisco voters look around at all the homeless people and the trash on the streets and the high crime in San Francisco and everything. And they said, you know what? We want more of this. You know what? We want full-blown communism. We want to murder cops. We don't want any law and order. None of that. So they voted in Shahid Buttar. And so that's now Shahid Buttar versus Nancy Pelosi. I don't know which is better at this point going into the general election. But these are the kinds of people that are getting voted in over and over again all around the country. And it's really scary. You know, you wouldn't think there'd be anything worse than Nancy Pelosi, but I think that actually could be worse, like a Rashid Tlaib and an Ilhan Omar and a Shahid Buttar. That's where our country is heading if we don't stand up and fight and we don't, you know, throw ourselves in the fire and run for office too.
Yeah, I was watching the news and they showed the city council for Seattle, I believe it was, and I thought maybe this wasn't our country. I thought, well, we're voting. The city council wants to get rid of 50% of the cops. They want to no longer have SWAT, no longer have the equestrian team, no longer have a bunch of programs that help homeless. They say they get rid of homeless. And so that's why they're getting rid. So I mean, it's just badness. Like when you hear ideas, and San Francisco did this too, and I think LA did too, where they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give during the COVID-19, we're going to give them money. We're going to give them a place to stay. We're going to give them drug paraphernalia, and we're going to give them alcohol. And did you not know that you were going to triple the homeless population from people coming out? Like, let's go to California.
Yeah, you're making it a nice, warm, cozy place for them, you know. And they just do bizarre things, like they decriminalized, you know, they decriminalized, you know, petty crime over there. And if something is stolen that's less than $1,000, they don't get anything and no penalty or anything. Decriminalized. You know, quality of life crimes. If you intentionally give HIV to someone, now there's no felony for that or jail time. I mean, they did the most bizarre, destructive things in California, but it's not stupid. It's intentionally destructive. They want to create chaos.
When I was a cop, HIV and AIDS was a huge thing going on. That was one of our pandemics that we had to go through. We went on calls and we had to go. Like we didn't wear masks. Like, it would come up on our computer. This is an HIV home, and then we go and then we'd go in, right? But it was used as a weapon all the time. I mean, if we arrest prostitutes or robbery suspects that were not necessarily homeless, but just people. Their thing would be, if you're going to handcuff, I'm going to spit on you, I'm going to bite you. And so you're trying not to get bit by these guys. It was constant. I mean, we're not talking, it was like, it was their weapon. And everybody had AIDS, everybody had hepatitis, and that was their weapon. And that's where kind of these laws came up, because they were actually doing it. And then we'd have to go get tested. Then we'd have to stay home and wait for the test results. It's this really is nuts. The things they're doing to law enforcement, because now you're making me think about law enforcement, is that they're taking all the way away all the less lethal options that cops have. You can't use pepper balls. You can't use tear gas. You can't use the things that you use in between, them just being a suspect to where, they're fighting. And now we have nothing in the middle. We have to either shoot and kill them or lose the fight and get arrested and go to jail. Like there's no, like, what do you want us to do? There's nothing left.
And meanwhile, they're emptying the prison. I mean, they're letting Gavin Newsom is letting 18,000 violent criminals out of prisons and jails by August 15th. 18,000, because that's somehow going to make us safer with coronavirus. And then you're going to also defund the police too. Like, please tell me the thinking behind that.
There's no thinking. I don't even know what it is.
It's intentional chaos. If you read the 45 communist goals to take over America, which was read into the congressional record in 1963, everyone should read that. The 45 communist goals to take over America, 90% of these goals have already been completed. And one of them is to basically neuter the police and to create, lawlessness and disorder. It's all really coming to plan. People think this is a conspiracy theory, but there's so much available content and resources out there that you can see. These plans are printed for us to see. We're just the ignorant ones if we choose not to believe them or not to do anything about them at this point.
It's a 45 communist goals
to take over America.
Hold on, I'm looking for it here.
45 communist goals to take over America.
There we go. Got it. There's a Blaze article on it too.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and the internet loves to scrub things, scrub them of these things.
Yeah, sometimes things are hard to find. I got a few comments here. I tried to put your link also, but there was an error. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make solo a link for your book. I went to Amazon and grabbed a link, and for some reason it came up as an error. Do you have a branded link or a link that is much easier than the?
Yeah, let me see here.
I'm going to put your book up. I may cover part of your face there, but Taking Back America, go to Amazon.com. That's one of the ways you can do it. Deanna Lorraine, go there and get her book. It's a #1 bestseller.
I don't know if this link worked, but it's like I think we know, people like you and I think we know, and probably your viewers, that this is no longer about a virus. This is not about our safety and our health. If it was for our safety and our health, and these people, these government, elitists were really caring so much about our safety and health, they would talk about legitimate ways to boost our immune system, common sense ways to boost our health, boost our immune system, and encourage us to go to parks and beaches, encourage us to go to the gym, find a way to keep gyms open. And instead of pushing only, wear a mask, shut up, lock yourselves in your home, don't go to the gym, and just wait for a vaccine. No honest doctor can say that is good, sound advice coming from someone who cares about someone. And
I interviewed a doctor the other day. These are the supplements she recommended I take to help me, and my kids, stay safe. There's a whole bunch of, I have a whole list of them.
Immunity boosting.
Some you take before just to make sure your immune system's up, and then if you happen to get it, then she had another protocol here. A very good doctor out of Tampa Bay. Had some things. That's one of the things that causes my my live shows to be throttled by the social media. Before you go, gosh, 43 minutes. We had, and here's YouTube. So I have YouTube. Dead Skull. Wow, that's awesome. Dead Skull says YouTube is still not working, and it's causing my it keeps shutting me off.
That's what happened to me earlier today too. I hope I'm not carrying this this thing with me to people's podcasts and everything. Like, oh no, it's Deanna Lorraine. We got to shut her down.
Yeah, I got Twitch. What do this person's parents have to do with a campaign? So the person you were talking about before, you're saying their parents were arrested, and what are your thoughts behind that? Because that is a good question, I think, even though I know why she's asking.
Because so the attorney general that San Francisco voted in, the same thing with radical communist, and similar with Shahid Buttar, who won my primary, because your parents are who raise you, and they instill values in you. And these people are consistent with their parents' values. They have a massive disrespect for cops. They are both on a tirade to defund the police, decriminalize quality of life crimes, and usher in a full-on communist agenda, a very radical communist agenda. And I think that is relevant if your parents were, in a domestic terrorist organization murdering cops. I think that's relevant to who you are as a person and how that shaped you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's relevant. It is relevant, but I mean, there's people that have had bad upbringings and they come out of it. And then it's what you do. But if you are acting much like your parents, then this is where it comes from, and this is where it stems from.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it is important. It is important,
especially now, when there is a big cry and there's a big movement to defund the police, dismantle the police, and completely spit in the face of the police, most of which are good, most of which are protectors and heroes.
Yeah, they're releasing the criminals and arresting the cops. This is really a weird time in my life. I talk about this too all the time. I said, "Why do you guys go to work?" And I know I would during even when we were having like contract negotiations that weren't going well. I still want to work. That is not the public's fault that we have a bunch of morons in our public. I mean, as politicians, and I would still go. And even after Rodney King, I was around Rodney King. I was in the riots at Rodney King.
Oh, wow.
And after Rodney King, it was a little bit tough going to work because people were doing kind of the same thing for a period of time, but we still went to work. And so I understand the need because victims still need rescuing. People still need help, and it's not their fault that you have a part of society that's spitting on me. And so I would still go. But at this point, it's different. I wasn't threatened to be fired and arrested for merely arresting somebody, that I had to use some type of force. That's where they're at now. This is the difference. The difference is they will get fired and in some cases get arrested for using force in an attempt to arrest somebody, just like Jordan was so brave to say yesterday, is that, wait, George Floyd was fighting, like he wouldn't cooperate. Like if he would have cooperated, if he wasn't committing the crime, none of this would have happened, right? He was murdered. I understand he shouldn't have been murdered, all that kind of stuff. And I even spoke out about it. He shouldn't have been murdered. But the problem is it started with his crime, not his first crime. He was a parolee, right? He'd been in prison.
I think 7 times he was in prison. Yeah, I think 7 times he was in and out of prison.
And then he resisted. And what else are you gonna do? I mean, you gotta try to handcuff the guy. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and I hope I address the things that are important to you. I was so excited to have you on, and I know. Reading your book, it was just so refreshing to hear somebody else that's that's not Devin Newsom, or not Devin Newsom, Devin Nunes. Wow, that was horrible. Sorry, Devin. I didn't mean to call you Devin Newsom. I'm so sorry. That's not Donald Trump or Jim Jordan. You got a few patriots out there that are actually there doing what is right. I'm a little shaky on Lindsay. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, are you too? Yeah, me too. I'm glad. I'm not alone.
Action. Yeah, I'm just so sick of the tweeting and the talking and the little videos that go viral. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. Get to the bottom of this. I mean, these people have had more than enough evidence to lock some of these people up for good. They have more than enough evidence to bring justice to these crimes. And I'm just tired of the talking. Like, we want action and we need action. The only thing that's going to heal our country is truth. Revealing the truth about everything, including the misinformation about COVID, the misinformation about Black Lives Matter and everything, and justice. We all need to see truth and justice in order to heal and unite as a nation. And that goes for President Trump too. He should be held accountable to that. We elected him because we wanted him to be, we saw him as that badass who was going to stand up to the swamp and bring those swamp members to justice and expose lies and expose the BS and stand up for our country.
Yeah, so you just mentioned the other thing I love about Trump is he's exposing the morons.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other names I have for him, and I'm being nice right now because I'm respectful of your presence.
The sheeple.
All right. Thank you so much for being on here. I could have continued this. My shows often go on way too long, an hour and 50 minutes sometimes. So
I know. I mean, this could have been a 9-hour conversation, and we have tons of things to talk about.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot here and say I need you to come back, and we need to do this more often.
Yes, let's do it. And you could come on my show.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And don't go away. I'm going to run the video and then you and I will be able to chat for just 1 second. But all of you watching and taking your time to do that, make sure and get her book and write a good review. You know,
Yes.
you're going to have people writing bad reviews. I have books that I've written that are based on law enforcement. I get them too. So don't worry about that. But if anybody buys the book, please buy the book and then write a positive review for Deanna so she can get the word out about her story.
Yes. And follow me on Twitter too.
What's that?
Follow me on Twitter too. There's a lot of action on Twitter. I'm just like tweeting all day long. If you guys really want to be where the action is.
Oh, awesome! I gotta follow you. I didn't do that. I'm gonna do that right away. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Gosh. I'm so sorry. I was going to bring up a couple of these and I thought, nah, I might as well just end on a positive note.
Cool.
But she's terrible. These are my favorite. I go through these afterwards and they just make me so happy.
I know, right? They're just so ridiculous.
It's so weird. Somebody wants to see me naked.
These people, that's all they have. It's so disgusting. It's like you would think they would get tired of like the same repetitive insults over and over again.
They want me to take my clothes off. Do you see that comment there? I'm gonna point to that and take a screenshot.
Yeah, you should.
That's for me. Oh my God. So thank you. I hope we didn't go too far all over the place, but you had
no.
Brought up some good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anytime. Yeah, I'd love to. Now that we're friends, let's stay in each other's sphere of influence and network, and let's follow each other on all the social networks, and be in touch for sure. Are you? Yeah,
I think our voices complement each other too. I mean, have you ever watched people where somebody has a really high pitched voice and the other person's kind of like? I thought for whatever reason I felt like we had a good chemistry.
Voice chemistry.
Yeah, I thought that was good. But yeah, I love how well I'll take this one off. I left that on too long. Nobody can see that, by the way. But yeah, so awesome. Are you living in Redondo Beach or San Diego?
Right now I'm in Redondo Beach. But I go, I'll probably go to Calvary Chapel in the next couple of weeks. It's just kind of a far drive for me, but I'll probably go down. And if you go to any rallies or protests or anything in the next couple of weeks, and if you hear about anything, let me know and I'll let you know.
I usually do a live show. I take my microphone, connect it to my iPhone. It's a wireless mic, and I can interview people and that kind of stuff. But I'll be at Calvary on Sunday. I go to second service. He has a service tonight, but I was much happier to be here with you, and I'll watch the replay. But I'll send you the Charlie Kirk. I think you'll really like it. There's some really good stuff in there, and I'm sure you've heard him before. But I really thought Jack did a good job of interviewing him, and some pretty powerful stuff was said. So
that's really cool.
All right.
The last thing I want to ask you too, did you create that opener yourself? Because I love that opener, and I'm looking to have someone create my opener for my podcast too.
I did. And I do them for other people too. I use a bit of software that has some gadgets and gizmos, things like that. But yeah. So
cool.
If you have a couple pictures that you really like or some things, I'll throw something together and then we just kind of like move things around and take stuff out and whatever you want. But yeah, people seem to like it. The company that I partnered with to make those things, they use it sometimes as an example. So,
awesome. Well, let me know what a general quote or something like that would be. And then maybe we can do that in the next week or so. That would be cool.
Well, if you do more shows with me, we'll work out a deal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Cool. All right. Great talking to you. I really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, you too. It was great talking to you. I'm glad we're connected.
All right. Me too.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.